I saw wings of fire starting to sprout out for me that were burning through the shell of limitation. I was holding a sword and battling off these demons.
Each soul is a magnificent expression of God, and that's all there is to it. If you can conquer the demons in here, the demons out there no longer have any power, not to mention they no longer exist. And that's the ultimate truth, is knowing that all of this is happening in here. You are God and the devil, all rolled up in a nice, pretty little package.
I am Jason Abraham, the Shadow Teacher, 33, practical mystic and warrior of truth in the Grand Illusion. I am honored to participate in another revelation conversation with writer, philosopher, researcher, master of the ancient sciences and lost wisdom, keeper of the great arcanum, Arc Source One, Jonathan Johnson.
Jason, nice to be here, man. Thanks.
And this looks like it's going to be another Shadow Teacher 33 episode. Last time we were talking about the difficult decision of doing a masculine act of walking away from a relationship that was comfortable but yet not serving my highest good, and walking out into the unknown, walking out into the abyss, and the act of reclaiming one's power. And just yesterday, I did a powerful breathwork session with you and your wife. Worked on healing wounds of limitation and feelings of unworthiness and relational trauma with parental figures and other voices that I was listening to, that I've taken on, that have attached to me, and the most deceptive voice of all, the voice of what I believed was Jason Abraham, and his voice echoing those sentiments of unworthiness and limitation. And with these breathwork practices, there's always powerful imagery that pops up. And last time we were filming, you said to me, if the world actually saw what you really were, if they actually saw your full presence, the full brilliance of who you were, they wouldn't be able to stand in that presence, because the bright, brilliant light that is actually at my core would be too much for them. And in this breathwork practice, as you're digging in to these old wounds and you're bringing up these uncomfortable voices, these voices of limitation and unworthiness, what I saw, I envisioned, and I perceived this as a reflection of wings of fire starting to sprout out for me, wings of fire that were burning through the shell of limitation. And my eyes were burning bright red. I was holding a sword and battling off these demons that had attached to me. And what I saw, the reflection I saw and perceived as me, was an angel of fire, an angel of pure fire that was burning through this facade. And when we got done with the session, we always talk about what we see, what I see. You and your wife, everyone saw an angel. Everyone saw an angel, and your wife drew an image, and I believe that the Archangel Uriel popped up. And the belief was that this is my core, this is who I am. And the Archangel Uriel is the keeper of the fire of God, which is wisdom. The fire of God is true wisdom. And the Archangel Uriel holds a sword of flame, a sword that is this wisdom. And the mission of the Archangel Uriel is to restore self-respect to humanity. And how interesting that this breath work was all about restoring self-respect to Jason Abraham. And so whether I actually am the Archangel Uriel, or if that Archangel came and was summoned to rescue and help an unworthy human soul remember that they are worthy of self-respect and have a mission in this world, either way, I'm clear that my mission as the Shadow Teacher 33, as Jason Abraham, what I'm here to do is to help the people of the world remember their own worthiness and self-respect. As the power elites, one of the great mechanisms of how people are kept in the matrix is by taking away the self-respect of people. By people chasing the wrong things, believing that their self-respect is all wrapped up in status, in the car they drive, how much money is in the bank, who they're married to, that these false symbols of status are the way of self-respect, and this is not true. Thoughts?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, to watch you go through that breath work, it was like you went from a place of work and relationship, all of those things having fallen apart, and then you went straight to embracing your own strength, your own presence, your own self-respect. So it was quite remarkable. And, you know, I might add that with these breath works, you show up, you know, where there's no plan, there's no assuming anything. All we do is you breathe, and whatever comes up's what comes up. But, you know, that's why I said that in that previous interview was, you know, if people could see what you really were, all the talk that we were talking around who I was and who all people are, they have the power to be. Each soul is a magnificent expression of God, and that's all there is to it. It's not. When I look at people, that's what I see. I see you as that angel. I see people that way. When I look at them, I see the divine in them, in every single individual. It doesn't matter whether it's the homeless guy on the street or whether it's, you know, someone in a position of power or just someone that I've met. I treat them all exactly the same as if they're a piece of God. And so with you the other day, that was just an honor to be a part of that, because you went from just showing up, not knowing what was going to come of it. You had no preconceived notions, but you were fully engaged. When you walked through that door, you had prepared yourself, unlike most of our clients do. And you engaged it absolutely and completely. And we made that breath work very powerful and very potent. We were just going to say, okay, let's go all the way from here to the top. And yes, and I understand, you know, there's always that confusion initially of, you know, maybe it wasn't me, maybe it was Uriel showing up, or maybe it was this, or maybe it was that. But that's generally just the ego trying to hold on to it loosely, because we don't want to be wrong, but it's also a sign of great humility that you hold it like that, because it shows that it doesn't matter to you. What mattered to you was that you got to see an aspect, an expression of yourself through a reflection that you saw. So, and while you were breathing, like when we do breath work, I see people in their divinity. I just saw you kneeling, and like I was telling you, you know, there was just these it's like this wind of demons just blowing on you, but you were kneeling down like this with your head down. You had your sword here in this hand. And then after a bit, it's like you just made a decision, and then you just started standing up. And then I saw you flip your sword around so it was the right way up. And then you just started effortlessly cutting through demons, and they just kept coming at you left and right and from the back and from the front. And you were just spinning, cutting. It's like you had done it 1,000,000 times. The only thing I can compare it to is some of the video games that they have now, It's just like you were just a force of unstoppable strength. And the interesting thing was as well is you had that sense of self-respect. It was like, no, when you got up especially, it was like, no, I'm better than this. I'm going to get up and I'm going to be the warrior of truth. And that really surprised me when I saw the vision and all the things you shared. And then you and I were both realizing how they matched up to the title that you had chosen for yourself, for your teaching, and for your offering of wisdom. And those types of things are really the magic that we get to witness, because you're already expressing yourself, and then to see it just added onto and see a bigger picture of what you already were doing was pretty amazing.
Yes, and as I mentioned before, much of my life work revolves around self-respect. Mm-hmm. It is about reclaiming my self-respect, but in the process, freeing others who suffer indignity, who are on their knees and have been kept on their knees through false belief, through illusion. Tell me a little bit about your understanding of the Matrix and how the power of the devil robs people of their self-respect.
Mm-hmm. I think we touched on it in the last video a little bit. We were defining the voices, and you had mentioned that during your session, and then even prior to, and it's like you kind of got a clearer picture of what the voice means. A lot of people, I think last time we talk about the devil and God a lot, right? But it's not someone just outside of you. It's not another person, another being. It is that as well, but it's also aspects of your own self. There's a God and a devil inside of you fighting for sovereignty, for room, for space, for authority, for ownership of Jason. And we all have that every single day. We have that, the voices inside us that tell us we're not good enough, tell us we're inferior, or you can't do that, it's impossible, there's no way you could pull that off. And so to watch you go through all of that in context of the devil and God, and whatever names people like for that energy, self-respect is really at the basis of it, because self-respect then leads to self-love, and then self-love then leads you out the door to being your true self, but then giving that as a gift to others. And that's what you do with your work already, being the shadow teacher. So to watch you go through that experience yesterday and see yourself in full clarity, it's like you got a snapshot, and then that ability then to overcome that through your fight. What the thing that tells you what your purpose is what you have to go through. So the thing that you go through in your life, the struggles, the pain, the wounds, the things that you actually triumph over, prepare you, suit you up, and strengthen you for your purpose, so that you can actually have what it takes to then offer it out to the world. So in your case, you're already doing that with your work to some extent. But that sense of self-respect, you're earning and learning by going through experiences that try to take it from you, try to make Jason think he's less than that angel that I see. And so by flipping it around and realize, that's when I saw you get up. It's like you started to get up, and it was just absolute conviction. And self-worth was like your whole persona. But now you have the ability to begin offering it back to the world as a gift, to teach them, because that's the one thing that the destructive energies of this place try to do the most, is take away people's self-respect. And tell them so many false beliefs up here in their head, like, you're not pretty enough, you're not smart, you're not strong enough. You could never hold that office, or you could never get that job. It's a never-ending, every single day kind of relentless voice that's constantly trying to undermine your self-respect. But if you can harness and get a hold of self-respect, then you can really do amazing things. Most people that are in places of leadership and power, they've to some extent had to learn how to wield self-respect and have some self-respect for themselves, because you can't influence others very well if you don't respect yourself first. You can't teach them to respect you if you don't respect yourself. So, and you do embody that. So to watch you going through all this struggle with the voices that you kept hearing, saying you got to text that person, I got to reach out, or I got to, I just lost my job, I'm never going to make it, I'm not good at running my own business. Whatever the voices are, it's every day. But the first step to reclaiming your self-respect is saying, yeah, enough, I'm not listening to that. So.
What does the devil gain through taking my self-respect?
Well, I guess it depends on whether you'd like the outside perspective or the inside perspective of him. Which would you?
Let's hear both.
Okay.
You can start with the outside.
The outside perspective, he can get the people to do what he wants. He can so
get slaves.
Right. All of the things that are happening right now, and all the injustice and this overriding that and the bureaucracy, all of what's going on is just him undermining everyone's sovereignty, so that he can tighten up the control. And so the more control they have, the more they get the people to do what they want them to do, and it makes it a lot easier on their end. So the first step in that, though, is undermining their sense of self, self-respect, self-love. Actually, what he really likes, his ultimate goal, is to get you to hate yourself. His favorite one is to get you to hate yourself so much that you kill yourself. That's one of their favorites. There's another one that's their favorite, which is to get you to think so many negative thoughts that then you start imposing it on another person to start fighting. And marriage is a good one. They love to undo marriages. They love to poke your weaknesses and wounds until you succumb to the pressure and you part ways. I mean, I could go on and on and on about all their tactics and all the things. But truthfully, if I'm 100% honest, it all inevitably ends back up inside of you. Because if you can conquer the demons in here, the demons out there no longer have any power, not to mention they no longer exist. So that's why it's important. I've realized that it's important for me from now on to clarify that it's an inside and outside thing. So yes, there is a devil. He's a very real entity, and he is doing what he's doing, and it's very real. This whole thing is going to get pretty messy. But there's also one inside of you that tells you all of the same things, that tells you that, yeah, we should wear the masks. Yes, we should follow the rules. We should obey what they said, because they must know. They have all the power and the authority. How would they not know that this scamdemic is not real? How would they not know that? But the real first step is realizing that it's here first. Listen, notice what's going on inside your skin, because if you win that battle there, you've won the battle out here. And that's what we witnessed yesterday, is you decide, it was like you took this conscious choice and said, oh, now I hear it. Now I can see it for what it is, and it's down to me to get up and take back my self-respect. So.
Yeah, the greatest challenge in the cord cutting was severing the head of Jason Abraham. The imitation, I think about The Empire Strikes Back, where Luke Skywalker goes down into the cave, and the dark side of the Force is strong, and he sees what he believes is Darth Vader, and he cuts his head off, but the face staring back is his own. Mm-hmm. And that was similar to what I experienced. I was facing the darkness that is in me, yeah, and what I believed was the truth of who I am.
Yeah, and that's the ultimate truth, is knowing that all of this is happening in here. The reality that you're living through and creating is your responsibility and yours alone. And that is the fundamental truth about wanting to blame the devil, or anybody for that matter. Blame yourself, because you'll find him in there. And that goes back to the paradox we had talked about. I had mentioned that I was pure white light. But pure white light encompasses everything. It's all there. You can't get away from it. So the demons that you fight with, the devil that you've blamed, they're all actually you. And there's no way around that. And a lot of the enlightened people that have taught humanity, a lot of what we were trying to tell them is that very thing, that you are the whole reflection. You're the whole. And if I boiled it all completely down, you are God and the devil, all rolled up in a nice, pretty little package. The trick is deciphering, learning, and listening, and coming to a full, wide awake awareness of that is a whole nother matter, because you've seen the subtleties of the voice, because you mentioned it. I remember you told us, you said, I heard that, and I heard this, and now I know that it's that, not what I thought it was. That's why they say you're your own worst enemy, because he's talking to you in there, not out there. And so that's why I kept repeating that love is the answer, which is talking about listen to the things of love. If you stop listening to the things of fear and pain and death and what if, he dies. He is only held up because everyone keeps believing in him. That's all there is to it. So if you heal yourself, you heal the world. It's really, it sounds super simplistic, but truthfully, if you heal yourself, those negative forces that continue to try to destroy and break you all the time, they don't exist anymore, because you quit believing in them. You quit buying into them and giving the power that you keep handing over willfully to this entity that everyone's causing trouble with.
So someone who believes in the devil, how do they behave? Who's giving him a lot of power? What are the character traits, the actions of someone who is buying into that?
Self-destructive, self-sabotaging, self-doubting, self-critical, anything that's non-constructive, anything that's, and it can be as subtle as this. Oh, honey, please don't try for that job. Why don't you go to college for this job? A little easier. You could be successful in this field. That voice right there is the parent's voice not wanting their child to get hurt and to fail. But that's exactly what the devil does, is he says, don't go there. That probably won't work for you. So he's got a billion different ways. But the truth is it's actually you doing it to yourself at the end of the day. You listen to your parents or you don't. It's still a choice.
Well, let's flip that. For someone who has self-respect, what are their voices saying? How do they act? How do they show up in the world?
There is nothing I can't do. I don't care how many challenges, obstacles, impossibilities come up. I just keep on going. It doesn't matter how hard they hit me. It doesn't matter if I fail at my dreams. It doesn't matter if this works out or that doesn't work out, or I get killed doing it, or someone doesn't like me, or they slander me, or they smear my image. I'm still doing it. And it's unapologetic. It's relentless, but it's relentless in a peaceful sort of way, because you've been bashed and beaten so many times that you're just kind of resigned to, no, it's either I succeed or I die trying to succeed. That's it. There's nothing left. And that confidence, or that self-respect, means I hold what I'm going after at very high esteem, because I value myself enough to go after things of a high state, or of high value. So I'm valuable, the things I want are valuable, and I will do whatever it takes to achieve that thing, because I benefit, but also so many other people will benefit as well.
So this comes back to wisdom, knowing what is of value, what's worth pursuing, and what is not. So if someone is pursuing something that they believe has high value, but it actually doesn't, what does that do to their self-respect?
Usually there's just a hard lesson learned in that, because the standard that they have set either got set by someone else, or it got set by them based on false pretenses or conditioning. A good example is with society. Oh, you got to get a PhD or you can't be successful. Well, really? That does nothing to do with anything. It's conditioning. It's a belief system. It goes all the way from the simplest thing, like a kid not thinking that they can, do things that are supposedly impossible, and they grow up with that mindset. But ultimately, there's nothing you can't do. Honestly, it is all down to how much you actually believe it. And that's, you can't believe in anything very well if you don't have much self-respect, because part of belief is self-respect. If you respect and esteem yourself so much that you think there's nothing you can't do, well, then quite literally, there will be nothing you can't do, because you have a mindset. And that's why I'm always speaking about the sword. Your mind is the sword. Your mind, and then delivering from your mind to your mouth, speaking that truth, is the sword. It actually has the power to take you anywhere. Anybody that's accomplished anything that anyone before that thought was impossible did it because they respected themselves enough to not believe all the exterior voices and stay fixed on the goal and never give in and never give up until it's accomplished, because they believed so wholeheartedly inside that it could be possible.
So if anything is possible, going back to what I was asking before, is there such a thing as worthy goals and unworthy or illusions?
I guess that is directly proportionate to a person's belief systems, but also their moral compass, or their because one person might think transhumanism is a worthy goal, because here's how they look at it. They think, okay, if I can stop death and make people live forever, hey, who wouldn't want that? Death's a terrible thing. It's the worst disease we have. But another person will have a conditioning or a moral bar that says that's completely not ethical, because it defies the very nature of spirit itself. It denies the divinity in us all, and it denies the divinity of God itself. So that's up to perception, and that's all down to conditioning. So one person will think one thing's the most ethical thing they can do, and another person will think it's evil. That's the problem with all of it, is perception. It's all down to what you believe in, your perception of it.
So would you say people struggling to attain goals, would you say some of that comes to misalignment within the self, misalignment with who they think they are and the external goal?
Yeah, I think most people are projecting a parental. They're projecting a parental projection ahead of themselves to achieve it, to then get approval back from the parental figures. That's what I see most of the time. It's all down to what their parents told them is the thing they should be after.
So how do people hear from that? How do people heal from that program and hear the actual true voice within them and get rid of that parental voice? What's the process look like for that?
It looks just like your breath work yesterday. It looks exactly like that, because you remember when you were in the breath work, there's nothing going on upstairs. There's perceptions, you're seeing what's happening, you're seeing the visions, you're seeing whatever you're seeing. But you don't sit there trying to rationalize the whole thing out and think your way through it. It just happens. This territory here, though, is really complex for people watching. This is the higher level stuff, because this is where we go from what your ego or your human-sided mind thinks is the thing to go after or the thing to achieve. The divine, though, does not do that. The divine, the mind of God, the divine, when I use the word divine, it's interchangeable with the very essence, presence, and beingness of God in everything, in all of creation. Okay, so if I say the divine, I'm talking about that. The divine is part of a vast, unified field that ultimately has the greatest and highest possible achievements in mind for every single thing in the field. So what the divine asks you to do for a purpose or for a calling or for a mission or whatever you want to call it will look different from the divine's perspective, from God's perspective, versus your own created, conditioned perspective. So your parents, your family lineage, what culture you probably come from, there's a million variables that will dictate what someone will go after. Some people like to go after being professionals or doctors or lawyers. Some people want to be artists and creative. But the divine doesn't have an egoic preference. It's trying, well, not trying, I shouldn't say trying. The divine is making you the fullest expression of yourself every single day. It's just that people have such a tiny little attention span based on one little life that they think somehow that that's all there is, when it's in fact trillions, eons of years long.
So how long ago was it when I did my first breath work with you?
Gosh.
You remember when that was? Like 5 years maybe?
Yeah, that was quite a while ago. It had to have been at least 5 years ago.
5, maybe 6.
Somewhere in there.
Do you remember what I came in for? Do you remember what brought me there, or the state I was in that first session?
If I recall, you'd been struggling to find purpose, to find meaning, it seemed like, if I can recall correctly, it was you trying to deal with being alone, lonely, and feeling kind of isolated a lot, but also finding purpose in that.
And that time I was in a relationship too.
Okay.
So
okay.
I was actually in a relationship, but I actually did not feel like I was showing up as myself. I felt lost from who I was, the real me. There's something that just felt off about my life at that time. And would you say that's very commonplace for people, like when they go down this path of really doing that internal work and digging in, taking that flaming sword of wisdom and starting to cut these cords? Is it usually just coming to the realization that, I just don't feel like me. Something about the way I'm living just doesn't feel like me, and it's killing me.
I noticed that when someone's going from just living everyday life to, okay, now it's time to start living my purpose, or fulfilling who I really am, my divine mission. That's when I notice that. When you feel lost is exactly when you're going to start finding yourself. When you feel afraid, that's exactly when you're going to start feeling completely courageous. It's like, let's work you through that so then you can be the very thing that you don't think you are at the outset. Let's get you ready for what you really got to be. So when you're lost and misaligned and nothing's quite right, that's a harbinger of, well, this is exactly where we're taking you. So if you feel off, misaligned, if you don't know who you really are, well, we're going to show you, or we're going to take you through that path to show you who you really are. And then you'll feel so aligned. And that's the other thing about what you experienced yesterday. There was no question, not even a question in your mind when you finished that breathwork, who you were. You owned it, you were in it, you were still completely embodying. But what happens is there's a barrier between the left and right brain, there's a barrier between the divine and our ego that has to kind of still figure out how to work with what we really are.
Something that says, that can't be me.
Couldn't be me, yeah.
I couldn't actually be that powerful.
Yes, exactly. And that's why, okay, that's why I was specifically asked. It's okay, we can edit it, it's not a big deal. We have the power of edit.
That's the power of post-production.
Yeah. Just let us know when you're done choking to death. Didn't know we had a live studio audience, did you?
Or maybe we should keep it.
That's our director. She's choking on
a truth bomb out there. Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why Father asked me to come here in the state that I'm in. I'm no damn exception. I think I've made that clear. It's just that when you go in to the darkness, you got to have someone keep one of their damn candles lit, or you're all screwed because you won't be able to find your way out. So what Father did is he asked me to keep my divine mind awake and connected to them at home while I'm still in an ego like all the rest of us, going down in the darkness, deeper, deeper, darker, darker. And it's getting worse and worse if everyone hasn't noticed. So the reason why he asked that of me is because we had to have the ability to then take the candle that's still been guarded and protected and stayed lit to then relight everyone else's candle. But what I'm saying is that I am absolutely not an exception. That's why I was trying to articulate that you are a powerful, brilliant angel of light and love and power and all the other things. The difference is that's why I'm willing to stand up and take the hits, claim it, be it, do it, act it out, so that it gives everybody around me the courage to do the same. So when you came out of breathwork, there was not a shadow of doubt or a question in your mind who and what you were. But that's where the battle comes in. The fight happens between the ego that says, I couldn't possibly be that. It whispers those things to you. That's what they do. That's what it does. But then the divine in you is saying, no, you know. There's no more arguing about it. You know, we let you see it. We let you touch it. But the ego says, no, couldn't be. I got to go back to being, I'm just me. I'm Jason, or I'm Jonathan, or I'm whoever. And that's where the ferocity comes in. That's where we were talking before about self-respect. I respect myself far too much to lose my brothers, my sisters, and all of the people in this world to this fight. I respect myself so much that I will literally let them kill me, torture me, dismember me. And I have. We can get into that later if we want. But I respect myself too much to let the others that I respect completely get lost or screwed in a situation that I had a say in, or I had the ability to alter or change. So when it comes, that's why I was trying to articulate. Every person that I see in my daily life, every time we do breath work, I literally go from person to person in the breath work, and I literally see a unique, extraordinary, sublime picture of that person. Every time I touch them and I listen and they're breathing, it's like, wow, that's different than, they're all so different. It's like snowflakes. I have a hard time sometimes articulating it back to these clients because it's so ornate and beautiful and subtle. Some are powerful and strong, and others are really quiet, but they're so quiet that they're absolutely strong. There's really no end to what I see in individual souls and the divinity that's in them. It's literally like here's what I see. I'll give you an example. I see in each person, I see God in his or her or its completeness, but expressed in just a little different way. Each angle, each facet, it's like a diamond with a trillion facets on it. That's God to me, but each facet is a person, a different person. So when I look at everyone, I see a trillion different expressions of one thing, one being, which is God. And that's exactly what mother and father think as well. When they look at you, they do not for 1 second think, oh, Jason's lost and he's confused. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing or who he is. What they look at you as, they go, they look at you as a son, a divine child, and they love you and they love your expression. And their only concern is helping their child get further and further along down the road of their own learning. That's it.
Now, you may have actually answered this question I'm about to ask, because you had a lot to say. You always have a lot to express. And I want to make sure some of these individual bits get more focused.
Okay.
So when I was in that breath work, I felt that fire in me, and I felt the fire that was so expansive, so radiant, and these hordes of demons could not stand up to one of me. Me and my fire and my flaming sword was able to take out a horde of demons. But yet, when I came back, and I came back to this body, this very dense material body that I see as Jason Abraham, I feel a more expansive presence inside. Absolutely feel that. But this limitless power that I felt that could knock out a horde of demons, I haven't figured out how to translate. How do I take that flaming sword and make that work in this realm that my ego is existing in? I haven't quite figured that, though I do feel this expansive presence. How does one take that limitless power and express that here?
Wow, that's a really good question. it's hard to take the might and the power and the beauty of what you experienced and saw and bring it into this life, in this world, in this body, unless you know and see your divine purpose in all of its glory as well. So your purpose is linked to the true nature of who
Which
you are.
I saw.
Yeah,
again.
so you saw that. So you got a glimpse, but the process is a slow, gradual one, because the ego isn't to be fought. What I learned, one of my hardest won lessons was my ego is not a problem, nor is it something to fight with. It's he. It's a part of myself that's trying to help me protect myself. So what I realized at some interval, can't tell you when, it's probably in my notes somewhere, but I literally noticed that my ego was just desperately trying to keep me safe and protect me. And so it's kind of funny, and it's almost contradictory. Once the voice no longer feels hurt anymore, the devil in you no longer feels hurt by you anymore because you reject him and suppress him and stuff him down and try to kill him, slay him, cut off every appendage. There comes a point where he actually goes, this isn't working, because I'm fighting with this spirit that can't die. I can't win. Every time I try to bring this magnificent angel down, he won't go down. And your spirit goes, oh, wait a minute. That aspect of myself is just the most wounded, most hurt, most afraid aspect of my self-preservation. So then he can often get destructive and maniacal and twisted and weird. But what happened to me is that they eventually met eye to eye, and they almost re-embraced. Because what I found was that the two being separate is what causes the battle. One is the antithesis of the other, so they can't see or agree or. But what I discovered inside my own skin was it's not. I managed to, just through sheer tenacity, I managed to see that all of what the voice in me was doing was hurt. It was hurt, so it was trying to hurt me back. It was hurt, so it was trying to bring me down. It was hurt, so it was trying to get me to kill myself. And then once my spirit and my ego have always been pretty balanced in that respect. But I finally realized that after it was done throwing its temper tantrum of trying to kill me and destroy everything I was trying to build, eventually he realized the futility in it, and he decided to be a partner. It's really hard for me to explain this because we still have the final battle coming, and there's still going to be a huge conflagration between him and I and you and the rest of the brothers. But what I'm trying to say is once you come to peace here and find out that the devil in you is just super duper hurt, and you just forgive it and say that's okay, it gives up the fight. It's like he has no more steam to use against
More what I want to go for is, what does that power actually look like? What is that?
Your purpose. You have to find your purpose and start engaging in your purpose.
Unapologetically engaging in your purpose.
Because the divine in you needs to do that. The ego can't. It can't figure out how. But the divine goes, I know the way. Follow me.
And just showing up, trusting.
In breathwork. I did 4 years of breathwork.
Well, that's the tool. But again, what I'm talking about is the fire. Like for me, my flaming sword that shows up as honoring my purpose, which I know.
Yeah.
And showing up unapologetically and using that fire and using discernment, since I know my purpose, when those negative voices come up, being able to recognize them, being able to recognize what's false and calling them out and honoring what is true, and honoring and showing up for what is true, what's in alignment and congruence with my purpose. That's using that fire.
Yeah, it's I don't know what factions it is. It's either Christian or scholarly, I don't know, but they have a term called dividing the word. It's usually attributed to the Bible. But dividing the word not only can be a thing that you do to biblical or scriptural or spiritual texts, dividing the word, which means what's the real God's voice in all of this? The same thing applies to the inside. Once you get the hang of and you start hearing the separation in the voices that are going on in there, because one clearly is destructive and doesn't want you to succeed. The other one, though, is like, come on, you can do this. You can get up. I know you got it.
Yeah, which we talked about a lot of that in the last video.
Yeah, we did.
So that's a refresher. I'm happy to go there again because I think that's something that people really need to understand, the voice of the devil and the voice of God. And what we're saying now is that your power, the true power that you are capable of, when you know that you are an emanation of that divine spark of God, when you know that you are a brilliant, fire-breathing angel, when you are aligned with that purpose and you know what that is, you're clear on that, you hear the voice that guides you forward in that. And it's not always easy. Again, much of the time, because we're in the devil's illusion, that voice, it's not going to be the easy thing to do, but it's the right thing to do. And you know what the right thing to do is. And when you listen to that voice that pulls you into what may be easier, but is false, then you lose that potency and expression of power in this world.
Yes.
Am I on that?
That's beautifully stated. Yes, that's exactly. Self-respect is, I choose always and only what is the best for me. That's actually the definition of self-love and self-respect, is whatever is the highest good for me, long-term and short-term. And usually short-term is where everyone gets tripped up, because they think having that big bar of chocolate or that big bottle of whiskey or whatever, that's short-term gratification. But there's a difference.
That's addiction.
Yes.
That's pleasure-seeking and addiction, which is not true self-love.
No, real self-love is hard-earned, hard-won. Like you said, self-love or self-respect sometimes is the hardest task of all. Because like I said, I respect myself too much to let this battle be lost now, here, at this juncture. There's no chance in hell that I'm backing down or giving up at this point. Because if you knew how many people have bled to death, if you knew how many people have been tortured, if you knew how many people have been abused, subjugated, outright slaughtered, just to be standing here, there is not a chance in hell or heaven that I will ever give in or back down now. And that's my expression of self-respect. I respect myself too much to let the voices going on out there continue.
Conviction. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a man of conviction.
But that's also what self-respect is. It means every day I'm going to choose the little things, the best choices of the little things that build up into a big accomplishment.
Yes, but and you said that in dramatic, grand fashion, but I really want to hammer, many people there don't see the big things, so it's the little things that are going to get you there, like the little things that keep you congruent and in alignment, how you treat people around you in accordance, first how you treat yourself.
Yeah.
How you treat yourself, and then when you treat yourself with respect and honor, that emanates, that goes out.
And it starts really small at the beginning. The beginning, it's that voice that says, oh, you could never do that. I mean, you didn't even go to college, or your parents don't, they didn't teach you that kind of stuff. It can be as simple, it's even more simple than that, to where it can be things like, oh gosh, I shouldn't have said that, and now I really feel bad, and then you just beat yourself up for the rest of the day for no reason.
Right, we did this with me, and
we all do that. It starts out at the really small things. The things, it's not the voice that's the problem. It's that you fell for it, or that you listened to it, that you bought into that you're less than. So the negative voice in you is constantly chipping away at you, trying to get you to believe that you're.
Let's go into the negative voice, and we'll end around here, but the voice of anger. So anger is shamed much of the time, but when is it right to be angry and to express anger?
I think we were even talking about that yesterday. Sacred rage.
Sacred rage, that's right.
Totally. That happens to us angels a lot, because when injustice gets to too high of a levels, we get that. It's this sacred rage. And what it is it's a sense of divine justice in us that by looking at the outward circumstance that's going on, we get to a point where we can't stand idly by anymore, and that rage comes up because it's giving you the fuel and the compass to deal with the injustice going on, so that you can be a force for good in the world. And it can be as simple as, just giving someone $5 on the street. It's the same thing. But the anger isn't always no emotion is ever always a bad thing. Sometimes there's important places and times for anger. For instance, defending the ones you love sometimes is a very good place for that. There's a million different ways to express that. But in your case, you noticed how that all of the times that you've not respected yourself built up a little bit more resentment every time you did that to yourself. And then eventually you've bottled up all this rage and all this resentment because you didn't love yourself daily, minute by minute, day by day, and it starts to reflect back. So I'm trying to articulate two ways in which anger can come up. And the second example, with anger coming up because of the lack of loving yourself, is also a good thing, because it's trying to show you, hey, stop doing that to me. You're talking to yourself, but stop hurting thyself. Stop. Treat me with love. Treat me with respect. So the anger is trying to give you a signal. And that's often what anger is. It's trying to give you a signal of an incongruence, like
boundary.
Yeah.
When you have let your boundary down, you've said yes to something that your soul knows that you should say no to. I should say, when your ego has said yes to something that your soul, your higher wisdom, knows it should say no to.
Yes, and that's exactly, that same thing applies to the final battle with him.
It's so much of what's going on in the world right now.
I've kind of tolerated as long as I can stand. I can't speak for anyone else, but I know that for me personally, and there's a difference between feeling anger because of what's going on and lashing out is a far different thing than
Sacred rage. I guess.
Feeling the injustice or feeling the anger building, but I'm not actually angry. I'm transmuting it into something useful. So I'm turning the negative energy, I've gotten to the point where I can transmute it, to now I can emanate even more love, because I'm using what was out, transmuting it through me, rebalancing the energy, and then changing it into something that I can use for family or for friends like you guys or whoever.
Well, sometimes isn't the loving thing to do is to express that anger, and when someone has violated a boundary, they need to feel that rage. They need to feel that explosive anger, and that's actually the loving thing to do. Again, when it's backed up with the appropriate action, which is staying congruent, not necessarily violence. That's not what I'm speaking of. But.
Yes, because you're actually helping that person grow and achieve their higher states as well. Because if someone just does stuff all the time and gets away with it all the time, they're not growing. They're not respecting themselves either. But see, by you showing a boundary and displaying self-respect for yourself, they learn that they should do the same for themselves and stop doing that to other people.
If they choose that.
Right. And that's the same with Armand, the devil. It's the same with this whole bullshit confrontation. There's a difference between turning the other cheek and just allowing him to continue hurting everyone versus saying, wait a minute, you've had long enough, you still aren't going to change, nothing's going to change here, so sometimes you have to step on and do the changing. You have to do it with exercise of will rather than just letting it continually unfold that way.
Well, let's finish this video with a hypothetical question. What if every person on the planet learned to truly love and respect themselves? Would the devil still exist if that happened?
He couldn't. That's why. No, he couldn't. It would be an impossibility, because for one, the outside perspective, he wouldn't be allowed to be here anymore, because no one would tolerate it, because they love themselves too much to allow him to exist in their realm. On the inside, whatever you believe here and constantly reinforce in your inner world goes into the heart space and emanates out of you as a manifestation of the reality that you're seeing. It's an actual, if you could imagine, you're an emanation of God, so you are actually creating the reality that you see. So if everyone loved themselves completely, they would no longer hold fear, anger, resentment, jealousy in here, and they would no longer be thinking negative thoughts anymore, so they wouldn't be projecting that manifestation out. There's a Quran, the Quran has a scripture talking about Isa and the Mahdi facing down the Dajjal. And what they talk about in that scripture is that the Mahdi will be coming on his last assault to this city, and I think it's in Damascus or Syria somewhere. And it's talking about the Mahdi and his army coming to snuff out Isa and the Mahdi. And then it states that Isa, Mahdi, and his troops rush out to meet or to stop the Dajjal. And the Dajjal sees Isa and gets kind of alarmed and tries to run away. And he begins to disintegrate. But Isa, wanting to prove that the Dajjal is not a god to the whole world, that he's just a flesh and blood deceiver, before Dajjal can disappear entirely, he runs him through with a spear or a sword in different versions. But what that's really articulating is, if the world no longer believed in pain and suffering and cruelty and all of those things, it would begin to vanish quite quickly, because it isn't believed in out here, and it isn't being emanated out of the very creative center, which is the heart space. The 0 point in us all is what's creating this realm. So that's why I decided I had enough. Because if one person decides they had enough, and then they share that perspective and those beliefs and those convictions with others, then others will decide they've had enough. And eventually the whole world will go, hey, yeah, that's a really great idea. We've all had enough. And that's when evil is done. And that's what I was speaking about in my promo, that the line has been drawn and evil shall proceed no further. That's saying all the people, and you have to understand that in that promo, I've been listening to the collective consciousness for thousands of years. So I'm waiting for them to finally say, we've had enough. And I mean it, like not just, oh, we hate war and we hate evil. No, have you really had enough of the bloodshed? Have you had enough of the cruelty and the trauma to really mean it and say it with conviction, so much so that then you'll actually take the actual steps to doing it? Because saying it is too easy, and it's not always, people don't always mean it. You have to say it and then actually be ready and willing to pay the price to stand up to that evil. A lot of people think they're against evil, but they don't even know the first thing about how ugly it can be. So there's a whole thing going on there with actually having had enough. But if all the world chose self-love and love of thy neighbor, this whole thing would be over tomorrow. And that's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to ask everyone the question, have you had enough? Because if you had, the solution is quite simple. Slow down enough to see what's going on here first. Start learning to love thyself. Start learning those little things that we're mentioning about the voices, not heeding them, not listening to them, not buying into the narrative. It's no different than the narratives going on outside with the vaccines and all the things that are going on. It's here that's the problem. So if everyone finally realized they've had enough of the pain and the suffering, then they would take the actual steps to heal it, and then the world or outside will change quite rapidly. And that's why I don't give in or give up, because I know that it's, have you heard of the 100th monkey effect?
I have.
When one monkey washes his fruit, then all of a sudden they all started doing it without having seen that first monkey do it. It's a collective consciousness thing. So that's why I say, if you heal yourself, you heal the world. If you can get tuned into those voices, start figuring out how to stop acting them out on yourself, then you'll start learning what self-love is gradually, slowly, one thing at a time, conquering one voice at a time, correcting one narrative at a time, erasing one program inside of you at a time. Eventually, and that's how I try to teach it, only listen to what's good and do your best to overcome, ignore, or dismiss what's bad. And that's the definition of self-love. Focus on what's good. Will walking be good for me? Will drinking alcohol be good for me? You answer those questions, it tells you what to act on. So only act on what is good. And then that's what you'll get.
So I want to close. So we say this every video, heal yourself, heal the world. Learn how to truly love yourself, do what's good for you, and learn to respect yourself. And you learn self-respect by knowing who you are, knowing your purpose, knowing your North Star, knowing what you value, knowing your moral compass, and being in alignment with that. And when you do that, when everyone does that, then the devil becomes obsolete. And we're going to end this video on that note.
Thanks, Jason. This one's been, I really enjoyed this one. This was really, because, you know, it was your experience, and it's really nice to see it shared. So thanks.
Yeah, it's a blessing to share that. And that's my mission. Restore self-respect to myself and do my best to be an example for others to do the same.
Yeah, nice. Thanks, Jason.